Easy, that started. I am super excited to be talking to Manon this morning on behalf of Nutritional Therapy Association Australia and New Zealand, and with Leanne's sincere excitement and just I'm super excited for this today. So I'm with Manon and she is a subconscious mind expert, which I think sounds like the most brilliant title in the world. So Manon, tell us, what does that mean?
What it means. Yes, well, I've specialized in the subconscious mind and especially detecting blocks and eliminating immediately inner blocks. And inner blocks could be like beliefs and feelings. So we have lots of feelings and beliefs that can block us and that can also support us. So yeah, the subconscious mind runs like 95 to 99% of our life and is also controlling our health.
So when we're talking about the subconscious mind, for somebody that doesn't understand, what does that mean? Like if it runs 95 to 96% of our health, like our world and our lives, isn't this something that we really want to understand? Like that, if our conscious mind's only running 3 to 4%, like what is going on with this subconscious mind?
Yes. Well, we have experienced so much in our lives, and all experiences are stored in our subconscious mind, part of the mind that just runs automatically. And so if we had a really wonderful experience, we have, when we think back about it, we really feel good. But when we had trauma or negative experience, we can, we have all these feelings and emotions tied into it, and we can store that into our body if we don't process it.
So what about Manon, if we've had these negative experiences or emotions when we're a child and we haven't learned to process it yet? Like, could we be born with these? Could this be part of our pregnancy, like as our mother's giving birth to us, and in our infant years when we don't necessarily have the words or the language, or we haven't been taught how to process these things?
Yes, we have feelings and emotions that we have from this lifetime, but we can actually inherit them also from our ancestors. Even, when we're still in our mother's womb, if our mother goes through trauma, we can also be influenced by it, and we have this information of the trauma, the feelings, the beliefs. We can have it in our body. It can be inherited through our DNA, or just that was the environment at the moment we were in the womb of our moms. But we can actually carry also feelings and beliefs and emotions of our ancestors.
Is there a certain amount of ancestors, like heritage, that it goes back to? Like, is it a certain amount of generations, or is that forever?
Well, definitely seven generations up. And we can so carry it forward several generations down.
So hang on, Manon, I think that's a really key point, because we see, especially in the Nutritional Therapy Association, a lot of people wanting to get pregnant, right? They're wanting to conceive children. So are you just saying to us that as a female, and we're both females at the moment talking, I know there'll be males listening too, but as females, we can pass this inherited trauma that I've got in my body right now, if I do nothing with it, or emotions that are stored in here, to 7 generations forward?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's a huge deal. Like, this is a huge deal and impact on the future generations, their health and their emotional well-being and their bodies.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So it's very important to, clear inner blockages, because we don't want to pass it down to our children. And even if we change certain things in our body, the certain feelings that we have inherited from our ancestors, we can help our parents, if they still have that belief. When we change that belief through DNA, their belief can be changed as well. Yeah.
And Manon, I think you've touched on a key point here. When you say blockages, though, like I know what you're talking about because I've studied with you and trained with you, but what is a block? Like, how would we know that we've got a block, or how do these turn up in our lives?
Yeah. Well, actually, you just talked about, babies. Even if you want to have a baby, You may have the body, a healthy body, but you may block it. Maybe it's not safe to have a baby. And that could be like, you know, emotional blockages that can keep you from having a baby, although your body is ready, or your physical body is ready, but you are blocking it. So it's either safe or not. So I always say, like, your inner doors need to be open to something. Otherwise, when your doors are closed, it can never happen. So yeah, even with having babies, but also with health, you know, you could be having a disorder, or be sick at home, and you actually need to go back to your job. But if you don't like your job, for instance, this is just a simple example, you may hold on to, you know, your disease, your disorder, just to stay safe, staying at home. Yeah, and it could be also, if you have a good experience being sick, like getting attention, or maybe your partner finally start caring, or, you know, whatever, if there's some benefits to it, your body may hold on to that disease, disorder, because you feel better being sick than being healthy. It's weird, like, your conscious, you think, oh no, that's not it, but subconsciously you may hold on to it. The subconscious doesn't know what's good for you. It just wants to keep you safe. So when it thinks it's safe being at home, then it will keep you safe at home being
Abs-
sick.
Absolutely. So, how would somebody at home, though, without working with a practitioner, know that they had blocks? Is it just because they're not getting the results? But if you're not getting pregnant, say on that example, or not going to work, or your health isn't, there can be so many other things that you can put it down to. So, how would somebody recognize that they had a block necessarily?
Well, if you are actually, if you already know you had trauma and you haven't processed it, like, you know, you feel resentment, you feel anger, you feel frustration, or you feel sad and you're still grieving, that can keep your body in, you know, parasympathetic, sympathetic mode. And so this is like stress in the body. And, you know, I always give an example in the basic course. I just let my students close their eyes and let them think about a bad experience. And when they do it, when they take the time for it, I just ask, okay, notice how your body is reacting. And people always say, oh, I feel so tight, and my body is, you know, my heart is beating, and I feel stressed. And then I say, okay, let it go. And now think about a really good memory,
Mm.
and something that you just treasure. And then when they think about it, I ask them, how do you feel? Notice how your body's reacting. And then they feel calm, they feel relaxed, they feel happy. So really, you're just thinking about something, right?
Mm.
But your body's already reacting. So your thoughts and your feelings, they're energy, and there's information in it, and it's you know, influencing your cells. You with your thoughts and feelings, you're the environment for your cells. So yeah, when it's stressful and you hold on to the stress, yeah, eventually you can create an ulcer. Everybody knows that, but you can create so much more than that.
So,
Yeah.
are you saying that our thoughts and feelings impact us on a cellular level? So, that's how much of an impact what's happening in our subconscious brain. It's impacting every single cell in our bodies.
Yes, yes, yes. I guess you have heard of Bruce Lipton. Like wrote
But
some books.
let's pretend that people listening to this haven't, because we both know that I have. So I'm asking some of these
Yes.
questions so that
Yes,
we.
so yeah, Bruce Lipton, he's a cellular biologist, and he always believed, you know, when you have diseases running in a family and it's in your DNA, you're not lucky, you're stuck with it. That's what he believed until he did some research and he put healthy cells in a sick environment, and the healthy cells became sick. And when he placed sick cells in a healthy environment, the sick cells became healthy. So it's not the information what's in the cells, it's the environment. So
Wow.
the environment can make your cells healthy and can make it also sick.
So
So
this means that our thoughts and our subconscious, that 96 to 97% can literally impact our cellular health. So on a cellular level, to be healthy or unhealthy.
yes, yes.
So a smart person, and everyone listening to this is very smart, would be like, okay, well, how do we get a hold of our subconscious? Like, what do we do to learn more about this? How do we what are the tools? What can we be doing? Like, how do we change this?
Yes, yes. Well, this is like one of the things that you can learn is Theta Healing. I teach the basic course. There are like 3 days or 6 afternoons, 6 evenings, and you learn all the tools to access the subconscious mind in a theta state. That's why it's called Theta Healing.
So what is
And
theta? What is a theta state, Manon? Like, obviously I've done this course with you and it's
yes,
amazing. And I feel so privileged now that I got to do it in person with you in Sydney. And that feels like a thing of the past now, like it's very memorable. But what is a theta state?
yeah. Well, we have we have many brain waves. So when we're sleeping, we're in a delta brainwave, so very slow meditative brainwave. But between awake and sleeping, you have the theta state, and it's the theta state. You are often in it, especially when you were, from the age of 2 until 6, 7 years old. You were mostly in a theta state. You're like a sponge. You're learning so much and absorbing everything. And also when you're in nature and you are in awe with nature, how beautiful it is, you're also in a theta state. So you can be awake and just in a theta state. Also when you're, driving a car and suddenly you realize, huh, am I here already? Who was driving the car? It's your autopilot. It's just running automatically. That's you're in a theta brainwave state. And of course you have, alpha states. Then you are like in a dreamy state, but it's not so deep, not such a deep meditative state as theta. And also beta. Now we're talking, we're in a beta state. And when we're really learning, we're in a gamma state. So yeah, we can actually learn how to go into a theta state consciously. And then we can access the subconscious mind, and whatever blocks we have found, whatever feelings, beliefs, stress, trauma, genetic stuff, we can just release it and recreate it and just instill beautiful feelings and beliefs that will support you, instead of, holding on to all the stuff that's making you feel sick or making you feel bad or whatever.
So how do you get into the theta state then? If this is the state that we want to be in to heal and we want to be in to manifest the things in our lives, whether it's pregnant, like a baby, a partner, amazing health, not be reacting to food, getting rid of autoimmune conditions, fungus, like all these things that I see in clinic as a practitioner and you see with the clients that you work with coming to see you, how do we get into this state?
Well, yeah, that's a meditation you learn. Those are meditation techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn that in the basic DNA Theta Healing course. And yeah, it's it's a few minutes process, and then you can do it faster. And now, like all my students at the end of the course or halfway the course, like you just close your eyes and you go straight into theta state, and then you just change the subconscious mind. Easy.
So if you're working with a practitioner that gets into the theta state, they can do this. Is this what the theta healing is? Like, you obviously train practitioners and you train people. So does that mean that if you're working with a practitioner, you yourself, if you're the client, doesn't necessarily need to get into that theta state, the practitioner will do it for you and help change those beliefs on a subconscious level and release that trauma and release those emotions? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So the ones who facilitate the healing goes into a theta state, and the client automatically goes into a theta state, whether this person is in the same room of you or on the other side of the world.
That's the cool part. You can do it anywhere. That's what I love about it.
And you can do this online. I do this online often, and I also teach online. Yeah.
So then tell us, okay, so if Like, so obviously for the Nutritional Therapy Association, the students that are learning this, and then the people that they're seeing, the clients that they're seeing, and they're going to come with symptoms in terms of like food inflammation or gut, leaky gut, as we talked about before we started recording this, or they might have parasites, or they might have fungus and mold and stuff. So how does this work? Like, how does theta healing work, or how does the subconscious mind play a role on a cellular level with these conditions?
Yes, yes. So what we always use is a questioning process. We call it a digging, and we ask questions. And when it's a disease, of course, you ask first, when did it start, and what was going on in your life, and then you start asking questions. And many times I ask the same question just to go deeper and deeper to the root of the issue, because we can, work on the surface, but it won't heal the root of it. You have to get to the root. So that's why we call digging a digging process. We dig until we found the core issue. And yeah, so like you say, fungus is related to resentment.
I know when I learned this from you, like going to learning training with you was a game changer in terms of I saw so many clients with fungus conditions and yeast conditions. And I had no idea until I did this training with you. Like for me, this was like, it's changed my whole practice. It's changed the whole way that I work with clients. Because even as I'm dealing with yeast or candida, as I like to call it, or fungus conditions, I will be planting the seed that there's an emotional component to it. And if I hadn't have trained with you, I would never have known that there was an emotional component to those two things, where you have to deal with obviously the physical symptoms and the gut imbalances, like rebalance the gut and all of everything that we get taught. But then there's that emotional component. Otherwise, the yeast or the fungus keeps coming back. And the clients will do everything we can nutritionally wise and with our supplements and stuff, but we'll see it repeat. And it's like, what is going on? Why does the client keep holding on to it?
Yeah, and it may even heal, but then you create it again and again and again, because the core is not touched, it's not healed, and you just keep creating it. Yeah, and like a virus, if you have a virus, it's most of the times about worthiness issues. Yeah. And bacteria is about guilt issues, and maybe a person doesn't maybe it doesn't ring a bell, but you can actually test it. You can test it with muscle testing. You can muscle test your feelings, your beliefs that is in your, in your consciousness. And then you can actually verify what's in your body, what's keeping you, in a certain condition. Yeah.
And you verify it through the theta healing process. Like you obviously teach your students and people coming to train with you how to verify that for their clients and for themselves with their health.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So will you explain to us what is the theta healing process? Like what is a little bit about what you do and what practitioners that train with you do?
Yeah. So yeah, if I do a session with someone and you learn this, of course, you learn all the specific parts of the healing first, and then you do a whole healing. You all put it all together and doing a healing session. So I always give an example how to work with someone. But what I do then in healing sessions, I ask someone, okay, what's the issue? What's the problem? What do you want to change? And then when they state it, and then I will ask questions, and I write down what they say. I ask questions, and I'm like a mind detective.
Totally, you're
I'm,
a detective.
yeah,
I'm pretty
I'm
sure
a,
you put that on your website, don't you, Manon? Like, isn't that
yeah,
one of
I
the things?
know.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, it's detective work. You're looking for puzzle pieces, and I write all the information down. And I've done this for 10 years, and I look at the puzzle pieces and I see the connections. I see, okay, this is connected to that. Well, let's test that. I come up with ideas, and the more you practice, the more ideas you get. So yeah, I can test if they carry, sadness, and they maybe they don't feel sad, but they may carry sadness from childhood, or carry sadness from their mom, or carry sadness from the whole women line behind her. That's possible. And so you can, yeah, you can hold on to disease because, of course, it's not safe to get back to work. So just like the example I told you before, it may be believed like if I'm healthy, um, I will be ridiculed. You know, maybe there's something going on at work and you feel ridiculed. Maybe you are ridiculed. Maybe you're not even ridiculed, but you experience it as ridicule. Now then it's not safe. There could be so many reasons. So yeah, you do the digging process. You find the beliefs and the feelings that is holding someone in a certain health condition or whatever condition it is. And then with the permission of the client, I ask, okay, would you like to release this? Would you like to make the changes? And when they say yes, I facilitate the change. And so I go into a theta state, then my client goes automatically in a theta state, and I actually activate their own healing mechanism. They actually do the changes, but they don't realize it. But I facilitate it. And I say everything out loud, what we are releasing and what we instill, and replace it with supporting beliefs and feelings that you may go back to work without being ridiculed, that you can be healthy without being ridiculed, or maybe you feel finally you're being taken care of and because you're sick, but you can also be healthy and feel being taken care of, feel being loved. Yeah, there could be certain conditions that is now tied to positive feelings, but you can have the positive feelings without needing to be sick. Yeah.
And what about, like, I know in my journey and seeing the clients that I work with and just people that I know, when it's a real self-worth issue, you know, where we don't feel worthy and we don't, and I think a lot of women kind of struggle with this, where we don't feel worthy or we don't feel lovable or we're not loving ourselves or just all of those types of things. How does that play out in terms of our healing and our subconscious beliefs and, like, when we talked about the subconscious mind?
Yeah. Well, if you just think about the body is like a community of cells, right? And they're like your team, and you're actually telling your team, oh, you're not worthy, you're not good enough. How do you think your team will feel?
They'll feel awful.
Yes, and you will make yourself smaller, and you are not stepping into your power to reach your dreams or to become healthy or to do what you want. And you stick into this job you don't like. You stay in this relationship you don't want because you feel like you don't deserve any better. And then, yeah, this is very toxic for the body, you know, just putting yourself down. If someone is telling you, oh, you're stupid, or well, you know, whatever. How do you feel? Bad,
But
right? So
what if you're not saying it consciously? Like, if we have done this, like for me, and I'll just talk about me because you know me, my work history, like when I was in the investment bank working, I pushed myself so hard. And then once I've done all this stuff and, you know, really looked into theta healing, looked into my emotions and my subconscious and stuff, I was driving myself because I didn't feel worthy and I didn't feel value, like I didn't value myself. But that was so ingrained in me. And so without techniques like this, and like, because that's really like, I just remember, obviously, I did this training with one of my best friends, Belle, and I remember ringing her and being like, oh my gosh, Belle, like, imagine me in the investment banking days. Like, this has transformed my life because it really did. Suddenly, I realized the impact that stress had on my body, that emotions had on my body, and my thoughts were having an impact on my cells. Like, no wonder I got so sick. If I was driving my cells and I basically hated my body, like, that's what an autoimmune condition is. So, even though society wise I was attractive, I didn't have an issue with my weight, I didn't have an issue with my appearance, because that's kind of what we think as a society. Like, if we're being mean to ourselves around our appearances, well, obviously we've got a value issue or we don't like ourselves. But what about if we're just working really hard? Because society values that. Society values working really hard. I did really well in my career through that. So it's much harder to unpick this for me to know that without these tools and learning from you and training with you.
yes, yes. Yeah, lots of people believe that other people determine their value. And then you're depending on other people, how they feel about you. And then, yeah, you just run and you know, keep doing your best and you know, working your butt off until you finally, you know, got this burnout just to get approval of other people or get worth, you know, but you're already worthy. Look at a baby. The baby can just, you know, can't do anything yet, not like, yeah, something big, but it's so precious, it's so valuable. And we are as adults still valuable. We don't have to do anything to prove our worth. We already are worthy without, you know, having to do anything for it or trade anything for it or surrender anything for it. Yeah, we already are worthy.
So are you saying in one session, we can change that whole subconscious belief around being unworthy or what we've inherited from childhood or through past generations and that lineage, like our family lineage? Like, how does somebody leave a session with you or train with you and realize that there's a difference? Like, how do we measure it? Because it's subconscious, right?
Yes. Well, the measurement is with the muscle testing. So yeah, that's where you notice the change. And of course, some people feel relief straight away, and some people notice, you know, in the next days a difference that their behavior change or they feel differently, you know. And also depends on how much information is stored in the body that is blocking you and related to the issue you're working on. So for some people, yeah, it's done in one session, but other people need more work. So you collect so much information all of your life. So how much do we need to shift? Do we need to release? Yeah.
And when you say, Manon, muscle testing, like I'm very familiar with that because I use that in clinic. But if you don't know what that means, what do you mean by measuring it with muscle testing?
Yeah, you can, you know, it's applied kinesiology. So you can actually test your body as a pendulum. And so you stand tall and then you zip yourself up. And then, yeah, you zip yourself up.
I
And
know,
then,
this blew me away. I loved this when I learned this with you.
yes. And you stand tall and then, and with your arms just along the body, straight. And then I always say, okay, my name is Manon. And
Me too.
I sway forward already.
And 4 years later, after training with you, I still do exactly the same with all my distance clients, with myself personally. I'm like a book of like, I'm like, Manon taught me to do this. So I do exactly my name first. And then, yep.
Yeah. So, and if I say something which is not true, I say my name is Karen, and I feel I'm pushed backwards. So I will do that with another thing, like where I'm at, you know, or what I'm wearing, or how many kids I have, or whatever. A
Yeah.
yes answer and a no answer. So I know if I go forward, it's a yes. If I go backwards, it's a no. So then I know how my body is reacting to a yes and no, and then I can just test these things. So yeah, and also with the arm, you can push the arm down, right?
Yeah.
So if it's a yes, your arm is still strong, but if it's a no, you can't hold your arm.
I know,
It's a
it blows me away. Like I do this all day, every day in clinic and done it with hundreds of clients, and it's still, our bodies just blow me away. And like Theta Healing would just blew me away in terms of, and just the difference that it does and the healing. Because also like another thing, Manon, that you touched on. So if we're measuring it, which I know we can measure with the muscle testing, but say somebody that hasn't been able to get pregnant or feel whatever they believe that they can't get pregnant, but from a nutritional point of view, from a health point of view, from a hormone point of view, tick, 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 like everything's actually fine. Some of that can be related to the subconscious mind,
yes.
where it's like you. And so how would they measure, like if they don't get pregnant the next month that they're ovulating, and then they can get down again and go down that pathway again. So where does the belief and where does the subconscious mind come into play with that?
Well, it depends on well, if you allow yourself to have a baby, or maybe there's like a belief that it's not allowed.
Mm.
Or like, you know, in China, you know, there was a there was a restriction how many children you have, you know, and this could be like, you know, from generations ago. So
Absolutely.
calm down, yeah. But and also maybe it's not safe, and you feel consciously it's safe, but your subconscious mind think it's not safe.
And
And
then
then
on that note, with it not being safe, right? Because it goes back 7 generations, say, for example, it was Nazi Germany or somewhere, like I don't like in that context, it might not have been safe for you to have a baby. So even though you're living in New Zealand or you're living in Australia or wherever you're living and it's very safe now, you could have inherited all of that trauma where it truly wasn't safe. So your body now doesn't know the difference because, like you said, it's 97% subconscious.
yeah.
So the theta healing can be amazing for releasing this.
And also with food allergies and food tolerances, if you look into that, you know, a certain food represents something. So when you connect to it, and I would ask questions, you know, traumas can come up. There could be like you had a memory that you ate a certain food, and then suddenly, you know, something in the environment happened that you felt unsafe, and that information, feeling unsafe while eating that certain food, is locked into the cells. Your cells remembers, even if you don't eat it, but just thinking about it, eating it, your body thinks it's under attack.
So it goes into a stress response.
It's trauma. It's a response, yes.
So
So you
how do you heal that, Manon?
well, then you release the trauma of and the beliefs, like if you eat that certain food, like for instance, beans. I just say it doesn't matter what it is, like beans. If you love beans and you can't eat beans, and beans is related to you know. Whatever, seeing an accident happening while you sit in a food stall, really bad accident, then we release the trauma, the cell memory of it, and that eating beans is dangerous. All those beliefs, eating beans makes me feel horrified, or whatever belief there is, something that is blocking, you know, that it's safe to eat beans. Once you all release all the information, all the beliefs, the feelings, emotions, cell memory of the trauma and the trauma itself, you can release all that and then replace it with that it's safe to eat beans, and it's possible to eat beans without, you know, flared up skin or whatever issues you have with that certain food. And then once the healing is done and you retest it again, you need to test if you do allow yourself to eat that food, if it's safe, it's possible, it's you can eat it without, you know, the thing that you know, like skin issues or pain in your stomach, that you can eat it without the problems you had with it. Yeah.
And I think you touched on such a key point that, like, we talked about Bruce Lipton earlier and about cellular health, like how the environment changes it. But it's the cell memory there, just as you're explaining that in terms of with foods. Because often as a practitioner and nutritional therapy students that are learning this, they will see a lot of foods causing inflammation to their clients. So that's a big trigger, which then creates leaky gut, which creates stress in the body, and it has this whole cascade of impact. But like you've just said now, if around your dinner table it was extremely stressful every single night, and that's where your parents fought, or that's where your parents announced to you that they were going to divorce, or that's where your dad, whatever happened, like it was an awful experience, you are going to have a cell memory. So on a cellular level, so our environments and how we see things and how it goes on a cellular level, which I think is so important that you've touched on that. So we've got a cell memory. So even if we heal the gut, even if we remove the foods from our diet, if we're not looking at the cellular memory,
and the trauma, indeed, yeah, and the emotions, feelings that it's tied into it. And also with addictions, something else, you know, if you have food addictions, like for instance, you know, at home when you were still a child, you know, if your mother was sweet to you, you get those sweets, and then you think about sugar, and it represents love to you, or nurturing, and you may be longing for nurturing and love, but believing that sugar is love, sugar is nurturing. Even if you test that, it probably will show that love equals, or sugar equals love, sugar equals nurturing, or some other stuff you're addicted to. And if you want to let go of that, you need to release those definitions. Well, what a certain food represents to you, because then now it's misconceptions and your body thinks it's helping you. Yeah, you need nurturing. Yeah, take sugar. Yeah, your body's longing for it. It's addiction to the feeling, but you can have those feelings, you can create them for yourself without that certain food.
Also, Manon, I think you've touched on a key point here, because I remember learning this with you as well, and I found this like life-changing, was the scarcity as well. So some people will overeat or have to eat everything on their plate or everything in their fridge because
Yes.
they grew up. And so this has changed like my client consults when I'm first working with a client, to ask, like, was food readily available in your family? What were the situations? Like, well, I grew up in a family where it was very scarce growing up. We didn't have a lot of money. So food, like there wasn't an ample supply of, just this abundance of food back then. So you inherit these emotions or these attachments around overeating, or around, like there's so much more to it than just the behavior. And I think a key point for clients and practitioners as they're learning is, if somebody can't control their behavior, like they can't stop overeating or whatever, there's probably a belief on a cellular level, or there's an inherited belief or trauma attached to it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I do have a question though. Can I ask you this question, man? Can you use this in reverse? So can you teach yourself, say, I don't think you can, like, I've got this question that, so it would be more like, say you were always eating sugar, can you just shortcut this cycle and go, sugar is bad for me? It's not really about that though, right? It's dealing with the emotion of what the attachment is, or the inherited belief around it. Would that be right?
Yeah, but also you don't want to have, you don't want to say anything like food is bad, because if you think something is bad and you eat it, that's even more harming than the food itself. Yeah, everything is just energy. Like food is energy, but and also your thoughts and your feelings about it. And like you were just saying about eating that plate, or yeah, the beliefs you have around food, that could also be about excess weight you want to get rid of. And then you can hold on to excess weight because your subconscious mind thinks it's protecting you from getting hurt, or it's protecting you from getting that relationship, and then you'll be hurt again. Or you can hold on to excess weight as well for emotional reasons as well. So there's a lot of stuff around food. Yeah.
And Manon, I think you've touched on a key point, because we obviously see as nutritional therapy practitioners people wanting to lose weight, but when they focus on it, like lots of clients will focus on like I'll have clients come in to see me and they will be like up walking again. They'll have the best energy in the world. They've gotten rid of their brain fog. They've gotten rid of their skin conditions. They've got well-formed sausage poos every single day. And they'll look at me and I will have to dig to ask all of those questions, but they'll be like, but my weight hasn't shifted. Like they will be so disappointed in the whole process, and they will think that it has failed and that it's not what it should be, and like that this hasn't worked for them.
Yeah.
So from your point, like how do you deal with that from a theta point of view? Because we both know that like the more you focus on that, the more you're measuring, the more your body is going to store that weight, because that's what we're focusing on, right? And that's what we're telling ourselves on a cellular level.
Yeah, you can look at what's gonna happen when you release weight. How if you close your eyes, so not think about it, but just relax, and okay, what's the worst thing that can happen to you when you release weight? Whatever reason can come up, like you may get attention of the opposite sex when you are slimmer, and then you feel unsafe because something bad happened before, or whatever reason, and then you hold on to the excess weight just to protect yourself. There could be so many reasons. And actually I want to say something about the other another word that you just used before, was influence. Inflammation. Inflammation is always about an inner fight,
Mm.
and that's stress. It's you're fighting, and inflammation is an inner fight. So you always have to look at, what are you fighting, and you may not be aware of it, but subconsciously you're fighting something. Yeah.
Manon, like when I know for me, recognizing how much our subconscious played in our lives, day-to-day decisions, and our health on a cellular level, like learning from you with Theta Healing, reading all of Bruce Lipton stuff, really, this was like a game changer in terms of for my health personally and in practice, working with clients. So I'm so grateful. And on behalf of the Nutritional Therapy Association, I can 100% say I recommend every student trains with you and studies this because it is just so like it changes people's health. It changes how you work with your own body, but it changes how you work with your clients from a practitioner point of view as well.
Definitely.
And do you have is there anything that I've missed in interviewing you that the students should learn about, or that I've missed that we haven't explained to the students that they would need to know?
I don't know. It's so transformational, and in the basic you learn the basic tools, which is so powerful already.
So powerful.
And you can use it for everything, not only for health, but other stuff that you want to create in your life. If your subconscious mind thinks it's not safe, or you don't feel worthy or deserving of it, you're blocking it. So even if you have a practice, but it's not safe to have to earn money, because your subconscious mind thinks you don't deserve it, or you're not worthy of it, or if you have money you will be hanged or whatever. It can come from generations ago, those beliefs. Then you will sabotage your practice as well. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's transformational, like transformational on every area of your life, no matter whether you're a practitioner learning this or whether you're a client. Once you've learned this with a practitioner, like you say, you can use it emotionally, you can use it romance, business wise, health wise, with your family, with your children. And for me, I guess my biggest driver was not wanting to pass this on to my future generations and not wanting to pass this on to children going forward.
Yes. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and if you want to create change, change your relationships, your relationship with yourself, but also your relationship with your partner or with your children. When you work on yourself and you start changing, your relationship will change as well. So that's
Absolutely.
great.
And it's really empowering, because I remember learning this with you, with Theta, where you don't need to change them. We always think that we need to change them to have a better relationship or change that family member. But with Theta Healing and these tools, it really means that you change yourself, and then it changes that relationship anyway because of that flow on impact. And on a cellular, it's just amazing. Blows me away so much. So I was so excited. Like, I put my hand up when Leanne was like, will you interview Manon? I was like, absolutely I will, because what you do and what you taught me is just life-changing.
It is. I love it. I love doing it, and I love teaching it. In such a short time, you can master these techniques. And I see, students just the first time when they do healing sessions, I'm always in awe, like how much they change and shift things for people. It's amazing. Yeah.
It's so amazing. And yeah, it's just, I can't talk about it enough, man. I think it's absolutely amazing. And I hope we've covered off all our potential students' questions for the Nutritional Therapy Association, because Leanne trusted me with a very big job of asking you all these questions. So I hope that I haven't missed anything. Is there anything final that you want to add?
Oh, well, maybe just one thing. Like you are, everybody is so powerful. We are very powerful. If we can make our body sick, we can make our body healthy again.
Oh my gosh, we can. And so much, like when people come, as I got so chronically sick myself, and so clients will, I'll often see a lot of sick people, like really sick people. And I'm like, you know what? This will be the greatest gift. Like, I didn't know anything about my subconscious mind in my investment banking days. I didn't know anything about trapped emotions in my body, the power of our cellular, like our cells, like, you know, Bruce Lipton's work. I didn't know any of this stuff. And I am so grateful that now I do, because it changes. It's phenomenally changed my whole life, that even if I went back to investment banking, I would never do it the same way that I had pre getting sick, because I just know so much more.
Yes, I know. It changes the way you look at life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And whatever happens to me now, I always think, okay, why am I creating this? This is how I look at things. And yeah, and then you
And
can shift.
man, I reckon that's the most powerful way to end. Why am I creating this? Why is your client creating this? Why aren't they getting the results? Not, and that's not in a negative, like now we're going, like now we've got to beat ourselves up about it, but just being curious, coming from that curious mind and going, okay, what limiting beliefs do I have? What am I believing on a cellular level? What is my subconscious? What am I telling my subconscious? And how do I heal that and release it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Manon, I'm so thankful for your time in your evening, and for doing this interview for us.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Shelly. It was so nice to reconnect with you
I
again.
know, I can't believe it's been 4 years. I'm like, sign me up for more trainings. I need you more in my life.
Yes, you're welcome. I love it.
Don't worry. Now that I've got your email address again, I'll be coming back to you. Don't worry about that. I'll definitely be messaging you.
Great, great.
Well,
Yes, well, thank you so much for this interview, Shelly. I loved it. I enjoyed it very much.
well, thank you so much, Manon.
Okay. Well, have a lovely day. It's evening here, but have a lovely day.
Thank you.